body. CG, center of gravity, his entire body is very well balanced here. Very well balanced on above his sliding feet. So that's why he has really good balance, very stable physical game. This is a physical game that we as coaches would like our bowlers to have. So when you have a very good physical game like this, you are typically going to be a very consistent, very accurate bowler. This is what we like. I guess welcome to another bowling analysis video. So it's been quite a while since I made the video because I've been busy coaching my school. So I do actively coach a primary school in Singapore. So been busy coaching a school, and now since it's school holidays, I'll be having a little bit of time off, right? So it's June holidays. I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I'll just do a few more analysis videos since I have the time to do so. And today I'll just happen to look at Osku Palema's YouTube channel. So anyone, if you haven't followed Osku Palema, obviously a very famous two-hander from Finland. I subscribe to his YouTube channel, and you should too. So yeah, and he's actually live streaming the Swedish League Finals, and there's a semi-final between his team, which is Team Pergamon versus Team Clan. So for the people who are not familiar with the Swedish Bowling League, it is a big thing. Like, I'm just gonna, switch on the audio here, and you can see there's tons of supporters behind them. I assume the bowling alley is packed with supporters, there are drums, all that. So I think the Body Swedish League is as big as, if not bigger than, the PBA League, right? So if you have seen PBA League on YouTube or as well as Fox Sports, then you will know that it's a big thing in the US, and they have professional bowlers bowling it. And the same thing for the Swedish League as bowling league as well. They have almost semi-professional or like full professional bowlers in at least the strongest team. So the most famous team is Team Pergamon, which actually Osku is playing for. And if you just Google Team Swedish Bowling League Team Pergamon, you will see that there's some posts, and they won the Swedish League Finals back in 2018. And based on what I see here, it's most likely that based on what the lack of content that I see from 2018 to today, right? What I believe is that the organization probably stopped hosting the Swedish League from when the pandemic started because they couldn't bowl in person. But now that it has died down a bit, especially in Europe, there you can see them, they're not wearing any masks. While in Singapore here, we still have to wear our mask as we bowl indoors. So they have the coronavirus under control in Sweden apparently, and they could now bowl without masks indoors. And I assume they actually resume the Swedish Bowling League, and they're now bowling in the semifinals. So the more about Team Pergamon, and Team Pergamon is pretty star-studded team. If you look at the post from one of their bowlers, Kim Bollaby, which is a Thai national bowler, as well as he's Swedish as well. So you can look at their squad here. So most of the names you wouldn't recognize, but some you will obviously recognize: Osku Palema, Martin Larsson, right? Kim Bollaby, I just mentioned, Jesper Svensson. These are names that are very famous in the PBA scene. There are some famous names I recognize, like Peter Lunch as well. I think he's also a famous, used to be a famous European bowler, but now he's a little bit older. But these are still, most of them are pretty strong bowlers in Europe. So this is considered the Real Madrid of the Swedish Bowling League. And just happen to watch their games, and this is live as we see. And I'm gonna just look at some of the top players in Europe. Okay, so it's really loud. Top players in Europe. See how they play out. Look at a bit of their physical game, and I don't know whether is it that good to like pause as well. Okay, so yeah, I could actually reverse. So we have an interesting. So I'm now looking at this bowler on the left here. Not too sure what's his name, but let's look at his game. So I'm just gonna maybe like compare like how the Europeans bowl compared to how we teach the the kids as well as our bowlers to bowl in Southeast Asia, and especially in Singapore. So first and foremost is that I notice a lot of European bowlers, right? They actually lean forward. So if you can see their spine tilt, actually a lot of them lean forward during the stance. So for Singaporean bowlers, this is not something that we recommend, because we actually recommend like Singaporean bowlers, both male and females, to actually stand tall and have your back straight during when you're holding your ball standing in the stance. There's a reason for that. The reason is that if you stand straight, you can actually maximize your weight transfer as you're moving from the second step into the third and fourth step. And then when you maximize the weight transfer, you actually generate more momentum as you deliver the shot. But you can see that a lot of European bowlers, they actually lean forward. One reason I believe they do that is because most of them are actually a lot taller than the average Asian male, or especially the average Asian female. Like most of the European guys, they are like at least 1.9 or 1.8 meters tall, 1.9 meters tall is really common. Some of them like even close to 2 meters for the taller guys, right? Especially those that play in like sports that require a lot of height, like basketball players and so on. But even the average, like the average adult in Swedish is like at least like average about 1.8 to maybe 1.85 meters in height. So they're a lot taller. And when they're so tall, their average, the length of their feet is tall as well. So I believe a lot of them, they tend to have lean into the habit of like leaning forward during their stance because they actually want to get lower to the ground. Because bowling is a sport whereby you need to deliver the ball smoothly onto the lane, and the lower you can know, the lower your ball is to the ground, the better. So obviously, this you can see this European dude, they have long arms as well. So I mean, so you wouldn't think that they have problem like reaching the floor, but I mean, with their long legs, some of them do, right? So in order to counter that, what I believe is that many of them develop the habit of actually leaning a little bit forward and like lowering their general height during their stance, so that it makes it easier for their hands to be as close as possible to the bowling lane when you deliver the shot. So I think this is like they want their ball to be as close as possible to the lane. They want to deliver as smooth a shot as possible down the lane. So this is why many of them develop the habit of leaning forward. So one point I wanted to make during this comparison analysis is also that even though we see a lot of these PBA bowlers, American as well as European bowlers on the internet or like on Fox Sports and like I wouldn't say TV right now, it's mostly on the internet, but we most of what they do is good. Yes, that's true, but we wouldn't recommend copying all everything that they do because there are reasons that their form is in a certain way. Maybe some of them develop certain habits when they are bowling from young, but those are not habits that we would recommend, especially for the average Asian bowler, because our height, our weight, our build, our height is different. The length of our arms, length of our feet is different from the average European or American guy, especially for the guys. For the ladies as well, our ladies are a lot smaller in build compared to the European or American ladies. So the style that we adapt, the physical game that we adapt, the fundamentals are the same, like good balance, looking like keeping your target, keeping your eyes on the target, delivering the shot as low as possible to the to the lane so that you have a smooth release, having high ball speed, having high ball rotation. Those fundamentals are the same, but like the some subtle aspects of the physical game, like whether to lean forward or not during the stance, those are different. Okay, so I'm gonna take a look at his game now. So enough of me like just doing a rant about this. So you can see that he leans forward, takes few small steps and delivers a pretty good shot. He actually falls. Does he actually fall off? So something that you notice that as they deliver the shot, right? So something that's actually good, like we can notice from a lot of professional bowlers, is that they are all very balanced as they deliver the shot. True, some of them will walk off the shot after they deliver it, which is something that we do not recommend as a coach. So especially when you're learning bowling, we actually prefer the student bowler to actually stay with their finishing position here all the way until their ball hits the pins. So for a start. So that's when they're really, really early in their bowling career, right? In their bowling journey, like their first few months or even the first half a year, the first year of learning bowling. We actually want them to stay all the way, with their feet knee bent, with their body leaning forward at the foul line, all the way until they see their ball hits the pins and then they can get up and come back. So obviously this is a little bit excessive, and the purpose we're recommending that and asking our young bowlers to do that because we want to actually train their feet to have a strong legs and thighs, right? To have a strong balance. So we want to emphasize the importance of being balanced and being stable at the foul line, especially when they just start learning bowling. But you can see for most professional bowlers, it's not that important for them as long as they are balanced when they deliver their shot. After that, once they you can see he actually stays in balance all the way until his shot reaches like almost 2/3, more than halfway down the lane, and then it actually stands up. So which is actually fine for a bowler which is really good, like established professional bowling for many years. Like we don't really will be that harsh on their so-called their mid no staying there with the finish position all the way until it hits the pins. It doesn't have to be that, but as long as you can see the good thing is that they do stay on balance. They do not fall off their shot while they're delivering the shot. So that is the important thing. So that's something that we can learn from from professional bowlers, and you can see how low he delivers it at the foul line, right? If you look at, I'm gonna freeze here. So how low the ball is when they deliver the shot. So we can see here, as he delivers the shot, right, his ball is really, really close to the foul line. Like it's only like about this distance when he surpasses the foul line there. So this is something that we want new bowlers or to like take note, because I do see like a lot of new bowlers that I coach, like those from secondary school and so on. They are not that experienced, so a lot of them actually release the ball way too high, right? So I see a lot of new bowlers, they release the ball like somewhere around here rather than what we're seeing the pro bowler do here. So it's actually an important point for new bowlers to take note. Is don't want to release your ball as close to the lane as possible. Obviously, you don't want to hit the lane, because if you hit the lane, you actually like hurt your fingers and your thumb, obviously. So you don't want to hit the lane, but you just want to be just slightly above, as close as possible to the approach, when as close as possible to the lane when delivering your shot. Then other than that, something that we cannot see here is actually leg extension. Can't see it fully, but we just pause a bit. Oh, okay, so I can max out here. Yeah, I can max out the screen, and you can see that his leg extension is very well extended, so it's beyond the screen, so I can't really say too much about it. Balance arm is also pretty well extended, not ideal. Generally you would want your balance arm to be level, but as he's delivering the shot, he does actually goes out a little bit here, but his leg kicks up to actually balance the motion that it's doing on the right side of the body. So I've actually mentioned this in a lot of my analysis videos when I analyze like the Singapore youths, right? When they're bowling the last year's like national youth championships and so on. So when they do a lot of a very violent release here, when they accelerate the release here, most of the bowlers actually tend to want to kick up their trailing leg in order to try and balance it. Generally, it's not that recommended. We would not recommend them to kick it up if they don't have to, but sometimes they do it as a natural reaction to counter the enormous everything that's happening on this part of the body, on the right side of the body while they release. Okay, then important thing we want to new bowlers to take note is that you want to lean forward. So this is something that that I noticed like a lot of young bowlers actually don't do, which is what makes their finishing position not that great. They don't not that balanced at the foul line, is that they don't lean forward enough. So the body lean forward actually happens in, I believe, like the third step. Can I reverse this? Oh, wait, I'm still right. Yep. So let's see if he follows the general rules here. Yeah. So because his body is a little bit lean, has already leaned forward a little bit earlier. So this is on the second step. So he actually leans forward a little bit more on the third and fourth step going into the slide. And then as he actually slides, he actually leans forward even more. So the timing, I'm not exactly like perfectly happy with this guy's timing about when he transfers his body weight forward. But that's not the important thing. Important thing is actually like for new bowlers, it's important that you remember to lean forward as you go into the release, right? When you're releasing a shot. So lean forward generally is starting from like the third step. When you're talking about a 5-step approach, like from the third step onwards, then as you your ball, you start the swing on your ball, whether you're one-hander or two-hander, then you actually start to lean your body forward. So when you're releasing your shot, your body should be leaning forward in the finishing position so that you're low, close to the ground, so that you can deliver the ball close to the lane, as well as then you have a better balance. So other than that, nothing much that we can see. Obviously, it's a strike, so they have high ball speed. So something we also want to something that's good to learn from pro bowlers is that if you notice, actually for the male pro bowlers, right, a lot of them have high ball speed. So high ball speed, if you want to like reach the top levels of bowling, like it's really important for males as well. So I myself, I have slower ball speed, so my physical game is not perfect, and I always struggle to score because of my slower ball speed. Because the slower your ball, the more sensitive your ball is to the lane, to the oil changes on the lane. So your ball will typically hook a lot more, especially for a two-hander like me. If you are, especially if you have a two-hander, if you have high ref rate, it's even more important that you have high ball speed, so that your ball is not so sensitive to the oil changes on the lane and it doesn't overhook as much. So it can easier to keep your ball straighter, easier to keep your ball on target, and you can generally strike more because you're also transferring more kinetic energy to the pins. Because with higher ball speed, obviously higher momentum, then when you hit the pins, you transfer more kinetic energy into them, and the pins will fly more and you strike more. So really important. Okay, so let's go back to the live view, and we're now in a different shot. Let's see if we can. I don't know whether in this view whether we have any two-handers. Okay, we have a two-hander on the right, but it's kind of blocked by this player from Team Clan. Okay, so anyway, this is the match. I forgot the opponent. Talk about opponent. I'm not too familiar with Team Clan, but looking from the post on the internet, I think Team Clan is also a really strong team. Okay, we have a two-hander here. Yes, so we have a two-hander from Team Clan, but a lot of his approach is actually blocked. Anything that we can comment? So good body lean forward here, but a little bit excessive. Like I would say that it's a little bit too much. Hmm? So if you look at his body here, this is actually not that recommended. I have this habit myself, which is actually not that good, which is actually over excessive leaning forward for no excessive upper body lean. So that means our upper body leans way too much. Like we're almost going parallel to the lane, right? That the lane is this way, and you can see his upper body forward lean is almost parallel to the lane. So it's actually not recommended. Certain reasons for that from my analysis is that when you lean forward this much, right? So what happens is that your sliding feet tends to go into the ground. So for me, I tend to trip a lot if I lean so much because the front of my bowling shoes will actually jab into the ground instead of gliding smoothly along the ground, because you actually want to have a really smooth slide. And when you are leaning so far forward, your feet tend to walk in this downward direction, so your feet are actually jabbing into the ground. So another challenge is that when you're leaning so far forward, it's harder to keep your eyes on the arrows. So for this guy, obviously he's a lot taller than I am. So even though he leans so far forward, his head is so low, he can still keep his eyes on the arrows. But it's also really difficult for if your head is like looking downwards like this, right? It's very difficult for the head to notice like further down the lane. Like if you want to aim at the break point, it's a lot harder because you have to look up really high up with your eyes, and then sometimes it's just beyond your eye sockets, right? Can't see. So for me, my problem is that if I lean so far forward, I because I'm a lot shorter than this European dude, I cannot see the arrows. I'm only looking at the zone here, and my consistency and my precision of my targeting is actually affected because the closer you aim at on the lane, the less precise you are. The further that you can see, the further that you can see and hit with your bowling ball, the more precise your aim will be. Because when you're talking about bowling aim, we're talking about having the whole line. So let's say if this guy is bowling along this line, right? And then he wants his ball to hook into here. If he's bowling on this line, the further that you can aim along the line, like if you can visually draw this line further down the lane, the more accurate and more precise that you'll be. So what happens if you lean so far forward and you can't see that far into the lane is that if I'm only seeing like until this part of the lane, right? So my line is only from here to here. So I cannot see all the whole area of the lane from here to here, right? From the rest of the lane. So I can't see it. So if I can't see it, I can't aim at it. So the precision of my bowling line is a lot less precise as when I can see further down the lane. So let's say if I have a blue arrow, So compared to, if I can aim further down the lane, something like this, right? Aim further down the lane like this, then the blue line will be the person that's looking at, able to visualize the whole blue line in his head is going to be more precise than me, who can only see the red line, right? Because I cannot see far enough down the lane. So overall, for two-handed bowlers, my point is try to avoid this, this excessive leaning of the upper body. Generally speaking, even for two-handers, as long as you're leaning about 45 degrees, if your upper body lean is about 45 degrees, is actually enough. Anything that's more than 45 degrees, like what you're doing with this guy, is almost 90 degrees, is actually too much. Okay, but I think he still delivers pretty decent shot. Does he strike? Yeah, he does. He still strikes. So there are some things that no pro bowlers actually do, but it's something that we wouldn't recommend, like our young bowlers, to learn as a new bowler. Ooh. Is the live stream over? Okay, I'm gonna refresh. Okay, it's not over. Okay, so you can see it's still really noisy. Okay, then video has gone on about 20 minutes, so maybe just gonna watch a few more. Obviously, I'm not gonna analyze the whole match. Just gonna see if anything's interesting. We'll do a quick analysis on it. Oh, this guy on the left looks like he has a pretty good game, but he's blocked by the arm here. Yep, but really good physical game. So this, okay. So even though we can't see most of this, the bowler from Team Clan on the left here, so what I'm looking at is this bowler right here, right? So this is something that we would recommend as a coach, is that he keeps his body up, so upper body upright. And when you look at him bowl, right, really smooth, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very minimal drift, very smooth release, very stable at the foul line. So when we talk about minimal drift, right, I'm talking about his legs. That means when he walks, his legs actually drift very little. Like he walks in a relatively straight line to his target. So let's see again. Yeah, relatively straight, right? You can see that his left leg. So we're gonna replay that. His left leg, where he stands with his left leg on the approach is very, very close to where he ends up sliding at the end of his so-called 5-step delivery. So very minimal drift. That means he's going to be a very accurate bowler, right? Because he can actually line up with his target very well. He doesn't like drift left or right a lot as he's delivering his shot. So you can see he walks really straight, relatively straight, very minimal drift. And he's actually very balanced when he delivers the shot. So let's look at his balance again. So very stable balance. So pretty good habits here. Like his upper body doesn't lean too far forward. About for one-hander, right, we would actually recommend the upper body to not lean too far forward. Yes, you need to lean forward, but not more than like 45 degrees. So he's leaning about, I think about 50 degrees, I think 60 degrees forward, and that's more than enough for a one-hander. For a two-hander, actually, the most we would recommend is that you lean upper body as much as up to 45 degrees. Anything more is too much. But if you're not leaning that much, sometimes you'll find it difficult to have a decent backswing if you're a two-hander. So I'll leave it for another video. And then other good things about this bowler, obviously his balance arm is pretty straight, right? And then good things also that his trailing feet, excellent angle as well, right? So his sliding feet is around this angle, and this is the angle between the trailing feet as well as his sliding feet. So the angle between the trailing feet and sliding feet, generally we'll talk about something like 30 degrees is actually more than enough. 30 to 45 degrees is this angle, right, in blue that I'm talking about. Between your sliding feet as well as the trailing feet. So the trailing leg angle. So trailing leg angle is actually really good, and it's not super straight as well. You can see that his kneecap here is bent. So he has a very relaxed trailing feet. Then most of his weight, so this is really good fundamentals. So most of his weight of his whole body, right, is actually resting on so-called supported by his sliding feet. You can see that his trailing feet here, only the tips of his toes are actually touching the floor. So this means that even if he lifts his trailing feet off the ground, right, he's actually still in perfect balance because most of his weight is actually supported by sliding feet. So really, really stable. So his center of gravity here of his entire body, CG, center of gravity of his entire body, is very well balanced here. Very well balanced on above his sliding feet. So that's why he has really good balance, very stable physical game. This is a physical game that we as coaches would like our bowlers to have. So when you have a very good physical game like this, you are typically going to be a very consistent, very accurate bowler. Here's what we like. Okay, so go back to the live view. So the game has ended. So let's see if they change any bowlers. See if you can see anything more interesting. Okay, another two-hander. Okay, so let's look at this two-hander here. So from Team Pergamon, don't recognize him, but pretty good physical game, right? Pretty good physical game, and he's a lot better than the previous two-hander that I saw in terms of his upper body forward lean. So as I mentioned, I noticed like a lot of the European bowlers, they tend to lean forward a bit because they want to get closer to the ground because most of them are a lot taller than the average Asian guy. But as a Asian bowler, whether male or female, we would prefer you to keep your back straight during the stance. So let's play this. So 5-step delivery. Yep. So let's look at his backswing, right? So first and foremost, we can look at his upper body lean, right? Like he doesn't lean too much. He leans about 45 degrees forward. I know it's because this is like we're not looking from the right side of his body, so I can't really like illustrate to you how much he's leaning forward. But generally, if you get my idea, that he's not leaning like perpendicular to the lane, not parallel to the lane, right? So his body is still somewhat upright, but it's about 45. I mean, I think it's roughly about 45 degrees leaning forward. So it's not leaning forward too much. And you can see that from here, it's a lot easier for the bowler to look further down the lane. Because as a European guy, he's a lot taller than me, right? I'm only like 1.6 meters, but this guy is at least like 1.8 meters, right? So as long as he stay relatively upright, if his upper body is like not leaning too far forward, can look very far down the lane. So his targeting is going to be a lot better. He can visualize more of the lane. That means he can visualize his line a lot better down all the way to the break point, because his eyes is able to see all the way to the break point and maybe even to the pins. So it's going to be a lot more accurate, and it's actually going to be a lot more consistent as a bowler, because you can actually see further. Knee bend is okay. Let's look at his knee bend during the delivery of his shot. Okay, not too much knee bend, but he's still very, very stable, right? As he releases his shot. So very stable. You can see that he kicks up his trailing leg, which is very common for two-handers, because the two-handers we accelerate because we have both hands on the right side of the body. So as we both hands on the right side of the body swing, there's a lot of weight being displaced on the right side of the body. And then in order to balance so much movement and so much weight on the right side, we two-handers tend to kick up our trailing leg very naturally to try and balance this movement. So as he does this, you can see that he's still perfectly balanced. He doesn't fall off his shot. Perfectly balanced here on his weight is like his CG is somewhere around here, perfectly supported by his sliding feet. So what I actually don't really like is that his balance arm stays too low. Even for a two-hander, we would prefer the balance arm to be perfectly straight. Like after releasing the shot, the balance arm should go up into a horizontal position that is parallel to the foul line, so that you have a better balance at the foul line. So other than that, his fundamentals look really, really solid. Let's look at the result of this shot. Oh, close, almost a strike. But you can see that this two-hander bowler, like really, really good. This is something that this is a physical game that we would more or less like to see. Okay, so I think Osku has ended his game. Okay, I'm gonna. Oh yeah, he ended the stream, ended the game as well. So yeah, so that's it for this video, and we will see you guys on the next one. Hope you guys learn something, can pick up or learn something from this, and we'll see you guys next time. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna do just a little bit of a plug-in and shout out. So it's now nearing the holiday, so I have a little bit more time. So if anyone is interested for private coaching lessons, whether you're a two-handed bowler, one-handed bowler, whether you're male or female, whether you're adult or whether you are a youth bowler. If you're a youth bowler, obviously you need to talk to your parents. You can actually contact me. I'll probably leave my contact details, like my handphone number, in the video description below, and you could but contact me for my rates and so on, and we could like arrange like holiday lessons. So yeah, so just quick shout out and thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next time.